Do you want to launch a business in the horse industry but have no clue where to start? Are you an equine entrepreneur that wants to grow your business online? Well, you are in the right place. My name is Aubriana Johnson, and I am an equine business coach at Black Unicorn Creative and your host here at the Digital Hoofprint Podcast, a podcast for new and aspiring horse business owners who want to grow their business online and build a community around their brand without the stress and the overwhelm. Grab a pen, a piece of paper, and maybe even a cup of coffee, and let's get into today's episode. Hey, everybody, and welcome back to the Digital Hoofprint Podcast. My name is Aubriana, and I am the head unicorn in charge over at Black Unicorn Creative, the business that this podcast is an extension of. This month, February of 2021, is Fall in Love with Your Brand Month. So, all month long, I am interviewing horse business owners and asking them why they love their brand and their business and how they get other people to love their brand and their business. So, I am super excited to be covering all of this. I know you may be wondering, what is a brand? What is a brand? Why is it important? That is what we are going to cover today. So let's get into it. What is a brand? I know that you've probably heard people say, oh my gosh, what's your branding? Oh, I love that brand, or I'm a brand strategist. And a lot of times people don't know what that means or what it is you do as a brand strategist or how you even build a brand or establish a brand. So I want to kind of go back. You never know where you're going until you know where you started from. And let's just talk about some of the history behind the word brand, honestly, and what branding means to us today. So, way back, records show as early as 4000 BC in Egypt, branding was so important. They knew the value of representation and showing, this is owned by someone, this belongs to this person, or if you see this symbol, this is how you should feel or how you should interact with whatever it is that the brand is on. Even the Romans believed that brands possessed like some sort of magic, whether it was branded on a person, branded on an animal. There was always some sort of significance with this visual appearance. And there was a way that it was supposed to make you feel. So that's kind of the history behind that. Fast forward to, 100 years ago up until now, ranchers brand their livestock to stake claim to their animals that they owned. And if you brand your animals, it deterred people from stealing from you because it was something permanent. You can't make it go away. Once an animal is branded, you can't, say, oh no, we're just gonna take that off. Like, it's just not possible. So it deterred people from stealing animals and just gave that sense of security. This was raised by me, birth through my breeding program, all these things. And people still use brands to this day to show, this is where this animal came from. This is what kind of expectation you should have. If you see a brand and you say, wow, that is an incredible training program, you should expect that this animal is trained amazingly, right? Each brand itself is honestly unique to the owner or whether that be like an individual or a company, it's all of them are unique and all of them are able to represent what it is that company or that individual stands for. So when we talk about branding in a digital kind of marketing aspect, when we're talking about your online presence, we want that same sentiment for you and your horse business. We want people to say, hey, when I see, you know, this logo for a horse treat company, for example, I want to feel, fuzzy and warm in that I am giving my horse something that they are going to love. It is a special treat for them, and I want them to be obsessed with it. So, you want to have this sort of visual representation of those feelings and that be unique to you. Nowadays, we talk about branding in the form of like the name of your business, design aspects of your business, whether there it be a certain symbol or different features of your identity that makes you unique and that is distinct from other people. We also talk about it in the aspect of representation of company values and purposes and strengths. So we want to be able to relate all of these things back to who you are just by looking. So when we talk about messaging and design, the visual aspect, and where you show up and how you establish your digital hoofprint, branding is such a huge part of that. It's not the only part. Businesses can have brands that, are not super established and be moderately successful. But Ariat, you see their logo and you already have a notion in your mind what that brand consists of. You feel like you were going to get a high quality product. Wrangler, also good quality products, but you have a different feeling. You have that rustic, rugged feeling like these things are going to be super durable. The products are super durable. So they have created an entire experience around their brand that you honestly can do for your business. To talk about the importance of and the history behind branding, I spoke with Sarah of Pittsburgh Foundry, a livestock branding company. They manufacture these brands for individuals and farms and businesses who want to brand their animals. They do livestock brands and wood brands and all different kinds of things. And I was so happy to get her on the phone and just chat it up about why brands even exist and how important it is to show up uniquely in this industry. Check it out. All right. Welcome to the show, Sarah. I am so happy to have you with us today. If you would just go ahead and introduce yourself and tell us just a little bit about what you do.
Okay, sure. My name's Sarah. I work at Pittsburgh Foundry. I've been there a little over 3 years full time, almost 3.5, but I've worked for them on and off for about 10 years.
Mm-hmm.
I do just about everything at Pittsburgh Foundry. I mostly right now I'm doing all the CAD drawings. The high detailed wood branding irons is mainly what I specialize in, but I've done everything from just answering the phones, making the decals, the shirts. I do the hats too. So just whatever they need me for, I'm there to do it.
Yeah, a Jill of all trades, as they say. So, the reason why I wanted to talk to you today is because when we talk about running a business and we talk about being unique and serving our clients in a unique way, the word branding always comes up, and that's actually what you guys do, right? You
Yeah.
make brands.
hmm
So I just wanted to ask you kind of what is the history behind that and why are brands important?
So the history of it goes back quite a ways. I don't really know who got the idea or came up with it, but as I'm sure you know, when they first were herding cattle, they would drive them all across the country. So
Mhm.
really, cattle thieving was a huge issue. It actually, not really cattle, but horse thieving is actually an issue still today.
Mhm.
But someone had the idea that they were going to mark their animals. They got an iron, heated up really hot, and branded it on the animals.
Mhm.
And as time has gone on, I don't know who came up with it or figured it out, but someone learned that you don't have to hot brand them. We specialize a lot in freeze branding as well.
Mhm.
And that's where you get the iron really cold, you shave off the hair, and you press it onto the animal. And if you hold it on the right amount of time, and you have a dark haired animal, the hair will actually grow back white because it kills the hair follicles.
Mhm.
You can actually hold it on longer and completely destroy the hair follicles, and it'll just stay bald as if you burned them.
Mhm.
But it's a bit, quite a bit less painful for the animal. Like you don't have to get them in a chute as much, and especially the horses
Mhm.
that tend to remember people, they
Yeah.
they they don't do well with the fire branding,
Right.
but they do pretty good with the freeze branding.
Right. 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 And so when you guys create brands, how do you differentiate or what is I feel like there's like a dictionary of like this is whose brand belongs to who. How do you know? How do you
Okay, we
know?
actually don't deal with the registering.
Okay.
That actually is done by, depending on where you live, it's either done by state or by county. So
Okay.
we're in Texas, and I
Mhm.
know that here they do it by county. There's also different regulations on state, which is kind of odd. Like some states, I believe California is one, you don't have to register the brand to mark the animal.
Mhm.
But every state, if you want to use that brand as a source of identification, you have to register it. So even if
Okay.
you can prove, oh, I ordered this brand and here's the conversation I had, the emails, the order form, payment.
Mhm.
So this is a brand I have. They're not going to let you use it as a legal form of identification for your animal unless you have actually gone to either your county or state, submitted your design, and had it registered. When you do register, usually most places request that you register, that you send in three different options,
Mhm.
and they'll check through their registry and make sure none of them match too much.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. So the registration kind of comes before the brand is even made.
We recommend you register it because if you don't, you can always run into the problem where you get the brand in hand and you send it in to register it, and someone else has already done it, and then you're coming back trying to order like a rafter or some separate piece that you can put next to it or over it to change it.
Mhm. Mhm. Interesting. Interesting. So, what are some of the components of a brand that you've kind of seen the most? I know just in my research, there's just been some like different types of things like tumbling and like water and grass, just different components that people can kind of choose from.
Yeah, I would say the most common that people use are, we get a lot of people who want to put like horns on the outside of a letter or
Mhm.
wings, both of which, the wings is actually a little bit more difficult, especially if you're wanting like real detail, because you can get a lot of detail in the brand, but depending on how small or how thick the brand is, it may not show up well on the animal. And we try and guide all our customers to something that is going to show up how it looks so you're not disappointed when it grows back.
Right,
But I
right.
would say we see a lot of wings, we see a lot of horns. We do quite a few crowns as well, I think.
That's cool. That's interesting. I feel like I'm the kind of person that makes an analogy for everything. And so
Yeah.
it makes it, that's just truly indicative of, if you aren't, confident in, like, if you don't apply your brand, whether it be physically or as your business in the correct way, you might not get the outcome that you want.
Yeah, that's true. And we do have some customers, because I would say most every customer we deal with tries in some way to make the brand mean something. Like, they don't just want some random thing they think looks pretty. They want, oh, I want these letters because it's our last name, and something to go along with that. But we do have some customers where, like, it's really a good idea, but it's just not going to turn out how you want on the animal. And we
Right.
get a few that'll still go through with it because that's what they want. They don't really care that much that it's not going to look perfectly clear on the animal. That means a lot to them, so they just still want to go through with it. But it is a little bit of a give and take with that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. That's cool. And so what is the brand building process look like? Like, in my mind, I see like a blacksmith and I can hear the clang of the mallet hitting metal, but I don't know that that's exactly what it's like.
Okay, it's not how we do the brands. There are some people that use like bent steel. We don't do it that way. We do a cast brand. So what we do is, you've had a brand made through us, so you'll know that we send you the PDFs or the print offs that you can see
Mm-hmm.
exactly how the brand will look. We actually take those digital files, and we use them to create a pattern.
Mm-hmm.
So what we do is we have a CNC router, and we'll put a board on the router table, and then we'll put that file in there, and it'll cut out exactly how your brand will look, exactly like the file that we sent you. We
Mm-hmm.
actually have to reverse it so that when you brand it on, it looks like that. But
Right, right.
we cut out the pattern, and then the guys at the shop will take it, and we have this black oily sand that they pack around it. They make molds of them, put about anywhere from 4 to 6 brands in a mold,
Mm-hmm.
and then they have to cut the mold in half so they can pull the brand back out,
Mm-hmm.
and then they put the mold back together, and they pour the brass into it, and they let it cool.
Mm-hmm.
So we actually don't do any of the hammering and the metal bending, but it's a really cool process. If you were to look up like YouTube and look up casting or stuff like
Uh-huh.
that, that's what we do, and it ends up being pretty cool.
That I like that. I can envision that, kind of like a, not like a 3D printer, but like creating a
Yeah.
mold and, pouring the hot metal in there. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, it
Um
is really cool when you get to the molding, and I mean, you know how it's going to look because you have the pattern, but you pour the hot metal in there and you pull it apart, and sometimes they mess up and don't make, and we have to do it again, but it's always cool when they do turn out and they come out really well.
yeah, yeah. Well, I'm super excited to go through this with you. I mean, not that I get to see it, but I'm excited
Yeah.
to get a brand from you guys, and I really really appreciate you talking to me today.
No problem.
Thanks again for tuning in to this episode of the Digital Hoofprint Podcast. I am so excited to be celebrating Fall in Love with Your Brand Month. Follow Black Unicorn Creative on Facebook and Instagram to learn more about the amazing events that I have planned for this month. Please, if you would, hit subscribe and leave me a review and let me know what you think about this podcast. Until next time.